I'm here to talk about the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything and how connected we are and how in many ways it means nothing. So as James also said, my background is kind of HCI, so I studied interaction design, which is half computing, half design. So what really interests me is how we experience technology and how we communicate with other people using technology. So sort of user experience is pretty much my jam. So I'm 28, which makes me just a little bit too old, I think, to be a digital native. So I grew up in the wonderful phase of the world where I knew life with no internet, and then I knew life with dial-up. And now I know life with real, full-blown, can't put it down ever internet. And throughout this all, like, the world we live in has changed a lot. We are constantly connected to our devices. We constantly use social media. And you've probably seen on the news this week that Mark Zuckerberg has announced he's going to give away 99% of his and his wife's shares in Facebook. And I read this and everyone's like, this is so cool. And I'm like, this is so cool. But when I read it, what struck me about it was the way he spoke about solving the problems that are in the world. And look, I mean, and there are massive problems. He talks about poverty, about education, and how we can solve those. And he talks about the world he wants to leave behind for his children. And that's all good and well, but what about, I just read it and I found myself asking, what about the world we're creating? Like, what about the problems we're creating and about to create that maybe we're not giving enough thought to, and perhaps we should be? Oh, that was what I meant to say there. So we now live in this world where we're constantly tethered to our devices, and there's almost too many ways to connect with people, and in many ways all these things that are meant to connect us actually disconnect us. Even like when I look around the room now, like a bunch of you are on your phones, and I don't know whether you're like tweeting all the really insightful things I'm saying, or if you're just like asking your wife if you need to pick up milk on the way home. And even things as simple as text messaging, like think how many times you've misinterpreted a text message because the tone is wrong, or you've WhatsApped somebody and you've got the two little blue ticks and you're like, they've read my message but they haven't replied. So like this super connected world we're making that's meant to bring us all closer together in many ways is driving us apart. So Cicero said this quote, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce in Latin, which translates to, "Not for ourselves alone are we born." So human relationships and our interactions with other people are the underpinning of everything, and it's who makes us what we are. You know, we're animals, we're tribal creatures, and everything we know and the world we've to this point created is based on those human relationships and those interactions we have with other people. And we've talked a lot over the last today and yesterday, about speaking to machines and how we can speak to machines and how other machines can speak to each other. And we've got so much tech now at our fingertips and so much power, and we're connecting all these things to the internet. But I'm just not really convinced we're connecting the right things. Does anyone know what this is? This is like mostly a room full of men. So there's probably there's one man up there who knows what it is. So this is a smart menstrual cup. So this is a little hollow tampon that a woman shoves in her vagina. It fills up with blood, and she can check on her smartphone how full it is. Like, is that a real problem? I mean, oh.
I have to not necessarily, but there's a whole bunch of people who find that, one, very useful, and two, it gamifies something.
Oh God. I don't want to live in a world where we gamify our periods.
It's really heavy. It might be specialised use, but...
Definitely only at ThingMonk.
All right, let's move on. Here's one for the boys. This is another Kickstarter project, and it's a smart meat thermometer. So instead of sticking a meat thermometer in your meat and reading the dial, you can stick a thermometer in your meat and then get out your app and read it on your phone. And I'm just like, really? Like, is that? I just think there's a lot of things now that just don't need to be smart. Has anyone seen the newest James Bond film? I'm never sure this is a spoiler. Oh, right, okay, never mind. There's a very lol moment in that. So yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is that just because something can be connected to the internet doesn't mean it should be. Yes, I love it when I get an applause in the middle of my... So in creating this internet of everything that we love to talk about, we're actually creating an internet of nothing matters. Do we need a smart fridge? Is a smart fridge really going to improve our lives? Do we need to know if we're running out of beer, or do we want to pull the last couple of beers out the fridge and then have a game of rock, paper, scissors with our mates to discuss who's going to go down to the pub and buy more? You know, do we care exactly what temperature our meat's at, or do we just want to have dinner with people and joke about who burnt the meat? I mean, obviously there are lots of good ways where, good examples of ways where connecting things to the internet is great and is having a really positive influence on the world. But my worry is that for the average person, for the average consumer and sort of consumer of technology, is that we're creating this weird fake utopia where just everything's connected, but not in a good way. So what we're doing is we're just ultimately creating a culture of convenience. That's all it is people think if something's connected to the internet, it's going to be more convenient, it's going to be easier. But being a human being isn't convenient. Being a human being is about experiencing things and doing things. It's about using our bodies and getting up to cross a room and turn on a light or turn off a light, not pulling out our phone and turning it off. And maybe what we need to do with technology is try and find the balance in between things being convenient, but also still being human beings and interacting with each other and with the world in the ways we're meant to. So this is my startup's first product, and it's called Pillow Talk. And what it does is it connects people that are apart by letting each person feel another person's presence. So what I wanted to do was stop people looking at their phones, sitting on their screens, constantly having to engage with their devices. I wanted technology to let people come home and sit in the same room as someone they love without having to necessarily engage with their tech. So the way it works is each person has a wristband they wear to bed at night, and then a little speaker that you place underneath your pillow. And the wristband picks up your real-time heartbeat and plays it into the other person's pillow. So when you're apart from someone, you can feel a sense of their presence and feel like they're in the room with you. So I'm aware this is a kind of, at the minute, it's quite a niche use case, and it's a niche market. But in terms of where it's going, there's a lot of other ways we can apply this technology and a lot of situations which can benefit from that sense of connection. At the minute, we're speaking to a couple of children's hospitals, including this one in Germany, who want to integrate our technology in their children's incubators for their sick children who need to be in incubation and can't be held by their parents, which I think is pretty awesome and is probably better than connecting couples in long-distance relationships. But yeah, so this is our first step in exploring a new way for people to feel connected, and we call it digital presence. And we know we must be on to something because people are buying Pillow Talk, and off the back of the publicity of Pillow Talk, we are getting inbound inquiries from places like children's hospitals. We've got hotels that want to put it in their hotel rooms. We've got military bases that want to use it. What else have we had? Healthcare companies that want to look about the other medical applications. And I just really want us to all start thinking about building an internet of things that care about human beings and each other, and in letting us interact with each other in meaningful ways, not about knowing how much milk is left in the fridge or how many millimeters of blood are in your menstrual cup. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings and not human doings, and our life should be about who we are and the interactions we have with other people and those things we experience. And we miss out on those, and we don't get those if we're always like looking down into our phones and messaging people. We need to remember to look up and be who we fundamentally are, which are animals, which want to speak to each other. So that's kind of what we're about. I've got 15 seconds left. Oh, I'm going to use that wisely. So if you resonate at all with anything I've said, or if you've liked my talk enough that you would buy me a coffee, then good news is you can buy me a coffee for £3 on Kickstarter. So yeah, as I said, this is sort of our first step in exploring better ways to communicate. And I don't want to create a world where we're just connected to devices. I want to create a world where we use technology in good ways and in meaningful ways, and in ways that let us experience the world as humans. So if you would like to be part of that, or support us in our first steps in doing so, or in helping premature babies feel connected to their parents, then please consider backing our Kickstarter. And that's all from me.